Been through struggles, had to conquer them all. We rise and give back to answer the call. We measure success by the lives that we shape. Making an impact, we're raising the stakes.
Brought to you by Kornit Connections, bringing the print industry together for a higher purpose.
Welcome to episode 4 of Raising the Stakes podcast. This is a very special episode that's near and dear to my heart for a few reasons. Today is going to be the first time we're recording this live with an audience. We are here at Apparelist Decorator Summit. Apparelist and Printing United are near and dear to my heart as well. 4.5 years ago, I reached out to Printing United Alliance when I started my journey to try to bring disability inclusion to the industry. And Cassie Green and Josh Caruth were quick to reply to me. Apparelist had just started at the time. It's grown quite a bit into this beautiful organization. And they were so supportive. Cassie did a 3-part web series featuring our disability inclusion program and really helped me start to promote the momentum that's created change across this entire industry. We're sitting here today and the momentum is real. We've got multiple sponsors of this event who now have disability inclusion programs, including Kornit, Rock, Coldesi, S&S. So we've really, truly made an industry-wide impact. And that's really what inspired me to do this podcast, was to help shed a light on other people doing incredible things in this industry to help galvanize people to give back with their businesses and also get involved in their causes. So Raising the Stakes is 2 parts. The first part is people's rise to success, how they started their businesses, but not the rainbows and gumdrop stories of all the positive that we see in social media. We actually really want to talk about the struggles, to humanize success so everybody knows that even the biggest companies and the most successful people are still struggling on a daily basis and have hard times, to really inspire people to never give up. And the second part is how people have used that success and that as a platform to give back to the community. For me, it was disability inclusion, but we're looking to also put a spotlight on everybody else. And lastly, why this episode is so special to me is I'm sitting here with my guest, Ross Hunter, who also happens to be one of my best friends. So it's truly an honor to have you, and thank you for joining.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Great. So let's jump right in. I think everybody knows you from Rock, but you've obviously had a career change recently. But what I think is most interesting is I don't think most people know what you were doing before that and sort of the entrepreneurial journey that you've had. So take us back from the beginning.
How far back?
As all the way back.
I would say that my love for business in general or entrepreneurial started with my love of people. At a very young age, I just loved, I developed speech really early, was fortunate, great mother in the audience here with me today, actually. And
Shout out to mine.
yeah, hey mom, love you mom. I love talking to people. And at a very young age, I was always interested in developing relationships, networking. We moved a lot, which actually forced me to be comfortable in new situations and learn how to communicate through those situations. So my first entrepreneurial experience, 3rd grade, I had an idea to make a fish pin, which was turning a fishing lure into an actual pin by taking a pin insert, shoving it through a fishing lure, cleaning everything off. I had a metal briefcase. I took them to school. I sold $64 worth of pins in one day.
How old are you?
3rd grade.
That's impressive. 64
$64, and then I got shut down. Apparently, you're not allowed to sell, things at recess. So started there, my first legitimate company, my first EIN number. I had at the age of 16. I started a graphic design business called DNR Graphics. This was back with like Illustrator 8 or something like that for those of us that go back with Adobe Illustrator. Sold work, made about 10 grand total between me and my business partner. He was older than me. I don't think I ever actually saw any of the money, but that's okay. We had fun doing it.
First business lesson.
Yeah, and that's kind of actually what attracted me into art, graphic design. I kind of, opened the possibilities of what was out there. Went on kind of after high school, was running a couple of really high-end retail stores, so streetwear. This was back on like Von Dutch, Avisu, all that was super hot. I think True Religion had just kind of like gotten its feet, in the marketplace. And we did screen printing in the back of this facility. I'm not going to name the company name because of what I'm about to tell you. But we were knocking off some shirts in the back. This was not my company. And selling them in the UK on eBay and making an insane exchange rate on the dollar to the pound. And I'm like, this is incredible. These things cost like $3 to make, and we're selling them for 30 pounds a piece. And I mean, we were printing a lot of shirts. Anyway, fast forward, ended that, went to college, changed my major 5 times, finally landing on fine art.
I gotta ask, what were the 5? What were the 5 majors?
It was like business and accounting, and then graphic design, and then it was fine art, and then specifically printmaking. So our school had a printmaking segment of fine art. So I did litho, I did serigraphy, intaglio, and after school, kind of put this love of business I'd had my whole life together with the art piece, and I founded my first company in Upland, California, Reviation Industries, screen printing facility, embroidery. Ran that, built it into a decent 7-figure business at a young age. And then I'll get into struggles in a minute because there was some that kind of started through here.
Take us back. So you started this business. Walk us through sort of the journey of going from beginning of the business to getting it to 7 figures.
So interesting. Had a business partner who was actually a college professor of mine. That happened to also own real estate, like to invest in stuff. He had a heavy metal band and asked me to sign like a logo for them, and I'd pull up about all this past with eBay and all this stuff we used to do at this company, and I'm like, this was crazy. He's like, hey, well, I've got money. You seem to understand this business and what you're doing. Like, can we make money? This is when eBay was still popular. And we saw landline phones. I don't think BlackBerries really existed yet. I mean, eBay was hot, right? And we had all the elections. So we're like, let's do all these political shirts. So we just started coming up with design ideas. And he invested. We got manual equipment. We started a little 700 square foot facility and thought we were going to become billionaires off of eBay. That didn't happen. Nor did I actually know how to screen print on textiles because I had done it in school on paper. I didn't know what an underbase was at the time, but I got all these, all this great stuff thinking I'm going to be this amazing screen printer. I really sucked at it when I first started, but anyway, the eBay thing didn't work out. Once we got the equipment, I started talking to friends and family and network and everyone I knew, and ended up getting into some high schools and junior highs. My mom was a teacher in the district that I went to school in. And eventually was the assistant superintendent, which kind of helps someone in that position. And ended up getting a bunch of schools. That went on to us building relationships with sports teams. We did all the gate giveaways for the San Francisco Giants, and we got in with Sony, and we just started to grow from there, right? So really cool. Ended up getting out of 700 square feet, went automated, and that was kind of your journey through there. I'll talk a little bit about why that ended when we get to that part. But
So what year is this? What year is this?
Jesus, 2016 when that was done. Yeah. Okay.
I love mom.
It's nice having your
Mom
mom
fact.
audience to remind you of dates on things because man, I don't remember. Everything's a blur.
So why did that end?
That was probably the biggest struggle I've ever had entrepreneurially, and I mean, frankly, just almost in my personal life. It was a grind, right? I started in really early in my 20s. Right before I started it, I fell in love with my wife. We were in a a long distance relationship. I was still in Texas in college. She was out here, moved back, started the business. She was in grad school. She's a doctor of immunotherapeutics. So she was at City of Hope, curing cancer. I mean, just a brilliant mind. And, you're starting a company from nothing. I had never done this before. It was new to me. So we struggled along. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you in this room have been through the sleeping on the couch, being there 24 hours a day, grinding through, not knowing what you're doing. Are you doing the right things? Are you doing the wrong things? How do we grow this? Oh my God, I got employees. I got to feed these people's families. And I mean, the amount of stress, it's a lot, right? And at the time, I had never been taught lean practices. I had never been taught that, you need IT systems to do things. We were running, estimates and invoices out of Microsoft Word and not even keeping track of our books, right? So you're doing everything wrong. You don't necessarily know what's wrong when you're doing it. You're trying to do the best you can. And sort of went through all that. And, as the company grew, I think the stress grows with that. And again, I didn't have a lot of teachers in that space. So it was me kind of stumbling through it all on my own. And we got to a point, probably 8 years in, my wife was working at that point. She was on grad school. We had our first child. And I remember I'd gotten the business to a good spot, and I was only going into the office maybe twice a week. And I was spending the other 3 days at a country club, for the most part. Maybe drinking a little too much, maybe just doing my own thing a little too much. And when everything shifted, it's weird to get vulnerable, not only on this, but with the audience out here. We were on a vacation, we were on the beach, and my whole family was with me, my in-laws, my wife, my son. We're all sitting on a blanket, like having a meal, whatever. And I was so checked out of my personal life that I looked up at a certain point when we were all sitting there and everyone was gone. I was sitting by myself. This is real. This was not a dream. And I look up and I had no clue I winged that up and left. And I looked out, and my son, my wife, they're out in the ocean playing, laughing. And my in-laws, I don't know where they went, but they weren't there anymore. And I had that moment of like just pure clarity of how unhappy and frankly just not who I was. I wasn't who I wanted to be as a husband, as a father, probably at that point just as like a contributor to society. And that's kind of when like something shifted in my head, and I'm like, I have to make a change. And what's interesting is, I'm going to backtrack a little bit, maybe a year, maybe a little less before that, my mom had come to me. I'm an only child. She raised me by herself, and she knows me better than any human being on the face of the planet. And she'd come to me and she said, hey, are you unhappy? And I think at the time I was making great money. I had bought my dream home. I had the RV. I had the car.
All the superficial
I had all the
things
shit.
to
I'm like,
success.
and in my head, I just said, no, I'm good. What are you talking about? And she's like, I just want to know that you're okay. And I'm like, yeah, great. And she's like, well, I know this guy. His name is Dan. He was the CEO of Brinks Security and had a hell of a resume. She's like, I know this guy. He's a business coach. And he did something in the district, talking to the kids and whatever. He owes me a favor. And she said, you should go see him. He owes me this favor. It's, go see this guy. At the time, I'm like, I don't need this. Good. Therapy? What are you kidding me? Like, I got everything I need, right? So fast forward to the Epiphany Day, about 8 months later, and I called her up and I said, hey, I need to see the guy he told me about. And that was when everything changed. And so Dan, I owe an unbelievable amount to, but started going in and seeing him, And he started with a DISC assessment, as any business coach would. It's like, let's figure out who this guy is from a very business standpoint, how your brain works. And we basically did therapy for 3 months and came to the conclusion through all that I needed to sell the business and like completely change my life.
So you got connected as a business coach, but it just transitioned into just true one-on-one.
It was business life coach. He was both, right? I mean, it was business and life coach. And I'll put the icing on the cake of this story because this is going to fast forward a little bit. But I sold the business. I made some change. We can get more detailed on the change. But after I changed, I moved to another state. I figured out a new thing. I'm doing something new. My mom comes to visit, and she's like, hey, I really got to talk to you. And when my mom says that, which isn't often, I'm like, oh my gosh, something's wrong.
What'd I do, or is everything okay?
Yeah. And she said, hey, I lied to you about something. Okay, I mean, this is a crazy, right? She's like, Dan. I'm like, yeah. She's like, he didn't owe me a favor. I paid him like 20 grand 8 months before you ever picked up the phone and called.
Wow.
Huge. I could have never picked up the phone. I don't know if she would have gotten that money back. She was a teacher, right? I mean, it's a lot of money.
A lot of money for a teacher, and that was obviously a big,
Moment for me, but
she knew.
she knew. She knew.
Shout out to your mom. So, obviously, having a mother to make a sacrifice like that as a teacher, and to have the intuition to know that you needed this. And the 8 months that passed, I mean, what's the conversation with your mom? What do you say to her when she tells you this?
I don't actually remember. I'm sure it was a pretty heartfelt thank you. I think my mind was fairly blown. It was one of those, what do you say? It all happens here. I felt it, still feel it to this day. I mean, I can feel it here. Chokes up a little bit, But
It's beautiful.
it teaches you how much all the people around you need, they're there for you. Lean on them. Listen to them. Your loved ones, your friends. I mean, we do this together, right? I mean, it's just so important in business. And I think, big takeaway for me, I started this whole talk with I love people. And I think the one thing that she saw is how lonely I was at the top. It is a lonely place. Those of you that are there, you know this, you feel this, you live this. It's lonely a lot of times. It's lonely even with your best friends, where there's things where we're in the same industry. You can't always talk about stuff as it's happening in real time, even though you might want to because of NDAs or other reasons, right? And so you sit in this place, you've got to make sure you've got that community of people around you that are always looking out, that know, hey, no, there's something wrong. Let's talk about it, even if they don't understand it.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback on top of that. Even when you're in a good place, right? Like when you're not deprioritizing your family, you have the right work-life balance. As an entrepreneur, it is still a lonely journey, right? Nobody truly knows all the things you're going through. You live in this world where you can't expose your vulnerabilities because you don't want it to stop people from working with you. Yeah. And you can't expose it to your employees because you want them to have confidence and faith in the business. And every day you literally have to go to battle, and even your wife doesn't understand what you're going through. So it is a lonely place. And I think that's part of why we even started this podcast. It's part of how our friendship blossomed, right? Finding people, like-minded people that are going through those struggles that you can become truly vulnerable with and kind of talk through those things definitely helps you get through those challenging times. And I think, that's something that I hope the audience really picks up on, because I think sometimes people think that loneliness and the struggle in the entrepreneurial journey is only for the folks that are in the beginning and haven't made it yet. But some would even say the more successful you get, it gets even lonelier.
Yeah. It continues. It never stops. It's always a thing. You just got to surround yourself with like-minded people that you can talk to. Understand? I remember the first day we met. Didn't really know you from Adam, and we just started talking. And 4 hours later, 5 hours later, something like that, we knew each other's entire.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. And you need that. I mean, we clearly both of us needed that in that moment. And I think, you know, it's a great thing. But you got to rely on others, you know, to get through this for sure.
All right, so your mom saves your life, literally. She saves your life, saves your marriage, changes everything, right? With one move, one intuition. All right, tell us about the next business. The next, how does it?
So, yeah, this is a cool story. So, you know, back when I owned Reviation, I was one of the first business. I bought all my equipment from Ryan at screenprinting.com. Was their largest customer in 2007. So me and Ryan became friends, just kind of inherently from being a big customer and whatever. And he had started teaching classes in Washington State to teach other people how to print. You know, makes all the great videos teaching other people how to do stuff, which at the time people didn't love. Now everyone's like, educate, you know. And I called him one day. I'm like, hey, man, we should have class in LA. I have the shop. You're doing these classes. Like, how does this work? Should we work out a business model, make some money? So anyway, I ended up teaching for like 9 years with them. I taught at a bunch of the different trade shows, Impressions, NVM, you know, SGIA, Printing United, you know, now. And we developed this just really big relationship. And so after I left Reviation and kind of took a brief sabbatical from doing anything, my phone rang. It was Ryan, and he wanted some help. I think weirdly enough, actually, trying to talk to Josh Merrill, who owns Liquid Graphics, about why he should buy Rock Presses. So this whole thing comes full circle, which is really always it's such a small world, right? So anyway, I'm like, sure, dude, of course, I'll talk to whoever. And he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, nothing. He's like, can you be in Washington in 2 days? Sure. So I hopped on a plane, and he needed some help at Ryan at the time. We got some turnaround and some sales and just some different stuff. And so went out and ended up loving what I saw. He needed help, and this was a much bigger company than I ever owned. So I'm like, this is a great opportunity to get, you know, experience and all the stuff that I feel like I failed at the first time, or was harder for me to learn. So picked up the family, moved to Washington, spent about 1.5 years doing some turnaround stuff and some different things. And part of that was we pulled Rock as a brand, which they were the sole distributor of at the time. We said, hey, this is great, but it's also kind of distracting sort of the core business that Rhino was. Let's take it, let's form a joint venture, and let's do it with Portugal and me and Ryan, a couple of people, and let's form Rock US, and let's make it its own company. And we signed the paperwork on Rock US February of 2020. There we go. February of 2020. So what happens in March of 2020? The whole world shuts down. So I got a brand new company.
We started steak 7 months earlier, so same ride as you. Perfect timing.
Yeah, so here I am on my new business venture. Okay, I got a startup again. Brand new startup, and people are all sitting at home doing nothing. And I remember, we had some money in the bank. We were well funded, and I'm like, this is crazy. How are we gonna sell anything? Like, no one's doing anything.
What?
So my family and I, we had an RV. We parked it out by the river, and we were going back and forth from the house to RV. And I just remember sitting up on this little hill looking out at the Columbia River. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Right? And I'm like, there's got to be some use of my time here. And I thought about the brand, and I'm like, and I kind of made this comment earlier about the videos and the education, and people had associated rock at the time with Bright. And we were like a punk rock, like we're teaching everyone's competition. And, it was not maybe taken as seriously as the piece of equipment, frankly, really is. It's a 43-year-old company. They make amazing equipment. The oldest rock press in production to date is 37 years. Still a zero deflection. It was a great press, right? Great piece of equipment. And I'm like, we've got to rebrand this thing. We've got to take it. We've got to just completely rebrand it. And so I spent all that time during COVID just working extremely, extremely hard to rebrand rock and kind of have it ready to redeploy to market. And, printers learned that they could make masks and everyone could stay open. How many people still have masks in the audience sitting in their warehouses right now? Right? And we started selling equipment and grew 300%, took good market share, and it was fantastic. Built a great company, great culture. I think some of you are probably in this room right now. I definitely know I got some rock users out there. And it was just a fantastic journey for the last 7 years.
But it's recently changed.
It's recently changed, yeah. So Josh, who again, I think I was part of convincing him to go rock prior to even starting rock in the US. We became really close friends, very, very similar to our friendship. And they ended up buying rock, the largest rock printer in the United States currently. And we got really close. And at some point in his journey, this was right before Thanksgiving of last year, we had kind of kid a few times about, me coming on, just kind of as friends. And he called me before Thanksgiving and he's like, hey, you want to come help me run Liquid? And I'm like, are we still joking or serious? And he said, no, can you move to California in 2 weeks? Like, well, I can help you, not in 2 weeks, but yeah, let's do it. So, I feel like I'm one of those people, which I didn't know this maybe with my first company, but I thrive on craziness. I thrive on being busy. I thrive on challenges that people tell me can't be done. And at Rock, we had built a great infrastructure, a great team. Like I was kind of on autopilot and I was missing the crazy. And so Liquid gave me an opportunity, even though great company, very large, we're very successful. There was a different kind of crazy there, right? I got to come in and bring operational knowledge. I got to bring lean principles. I got to bring new technology, a different way to do business. And I'm busier than I've ever been. And you love it. I love it. I thrive it. Once that's built and it's smooth, then I'll need the next crazy. Like that is definitely the way that I operate, and I thrive out of that. And I think I needed to find that for myself. And I think at the first company, I didn't understand, right? I didn't know myself as an entrepreneur. I didn't know myself as a leader yet. It's like I was kind of cobbling my way through, and my time with Ryan at Rhina, it taught me a lot. I learned the importance of systems. I learned the importance of operations. I learned the importance of technology, right? I didn't understand any of that before. And so I was able to take a lot of that. And then at Rock, we were a completely lean facility in almost 1 million square feet. And getting to see how we did that, and the fact that you could eat off a floor in this giant factory, it was crazy, right? So I started to learn more. I started to read more. I also joined Vistage and had business coaches and had all these people around me that were always helping me and lifting me up. And that was the biggest thing I needed. After Dan fixed my life, I'm like, I always have to have this. It can't just be in family or friends, but I need like a formal...
You need a support system.
I need a support system. And for those of you that don't know Vistage, it was a phenomenal organization. They're global. And it's basically CEO group therapy every month. And what I love about it is it's all CEOs that are not my industry. So I had like the CEO of Leatherman Tool was in my group, and CEO that owned a bunch of banks in Pacific Northwest. I had a guy that grew hops, right? So we get all of these different people from different backgrounds. We get together once a month, and we basically like let it out. What are the problems you're having? We issue process. We deal with it. We had great speakers every month.
Yeah, and I think, it's like we were talking about before, nobody knows what being an entrepreneur and a business owner is except for another entrepreneur and a business owner. And it's just, and I think going back to your point about sort of the addictions, the crazy, I think that that's really an interesting dichotomy for business owners. At least I think we spend a lot of time when we're, in the weeds struggling going, oh, I just can't wait till I get out of the other side of the tunnel. I can see the light at the other side of the tunnel. But I'm sitting down with my mentor, and he tells me, he's like, Jed, you're never going to get out. And if you do get out the other side, you're going to be bored out of your mind, and you're going to be looking for the next tunnel to go through it, right? So it is definitely, and I think that's when, I think it's Hawaii, the state saying is like, it's not about the destination, it's the journey. And it used to piss me off. I'm like, no, I just want to get to the destination. But it really is about that journey and building something and the struggles and the craziness and embracing that. I think somebody said it earlier, you said it on a panel earlier, embracing that discomfort.
Get uncomfortable.
Because it's when you're uncomfortable is when you're growing. You're not actually growing when things are, just baseline going
Smooth. Yeah.
Right. So that liquid, relatively new.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest challenges that you're tackling there now?
The biggest challenge is going into any new company is senior leadership. I guess maybe this is a personal thing for me, but it's like, do people like me? I want people to like me. But you're also going into a place where you're trying to set new boundaries. You're bringing in new processes. You're bringing in kind of a new way of thinking, and it's a very, very, very delicate balance. It's a dance, right? I don't know what the analogy is here, but to me, anytime you go in somewhere new, understanding their culture, how you fit in it, and then what changes that you want to make after you figure that out is the most complicated piece. I think once you get buy-in from the culture, once you're able to affect positive change there, then you have runway. And that takes time, right? This is Liquid's case. You got a 24-year-old company with 400 people. It's a big culture, right? And
Very founder-driven business too. Josh has been so hands-on.
Absolutely. And so it's where's your place? How do you fit into that? And then how do you start to affect a positive change and, rally everyone to be a part of that?
Now, do you still bring that founder mentality?
Always.
Awesome. So, awesome story, right? Of how you kind of gone from being a kid to all these businesses, successes, challenges. Let's get into the give back, because you are an extremely philanthropic person. You have really not just done things with your businesses, but you have driven the industry to do more. I've been a part of some of that, luckily, and very grateful for that. So just talk us through how you had, how you've given back throughout your life and used your business and all of that. Take us through that journey.
So yeah, I've always had a passion for people. I've always had a passion for helping people. I felt like, I never necessarily had the platform in which to do it. And so, once we started Rock, I felt like I finally had a voice. I had a place where I could go out there and really try to affect change, not just on our industry, but on maybe the future into our industry as well. Coming from a mom that's an educator, my wife's also an educator now. Like I definitely have a big soft spot for kind of bringing up, the future of, I guess, everyone, right? So when we started Rock, I remember we did our first trade show, and I won't use names, but I had a client walk into our booth, and I did my normal thing. I'm like, "Hi, who are you? What's going on? What's your business?" Blah blah blah, and she's explained her whole story to me, almost similarly to this story that we're telling out here, because everyone's got a story. And I listened, and she ended up getting a press release, right? And we had this great experience. Still talk to her, by the way. This was years ago, probably once every couple months. Like, we've got a great friendship. And afterwards, she calls me. She says, "Hey, I've had really bad experiences in this industry as a female entrepreneur." I said, "Really? Tell me about it." And she felt like she was never welcome, right? In these kind of environments, trade show environments, things like this. And that people would always ask, "Well, where's your husband?" or "Where's this?" Right? Just very demeaned as an entrepreneur. And I said, "Well, that's a problem." I said, "We need to figure out a way to fix that or work on it." And so we kind of created an initiative at the time called Women Rock. And I'm like, I really want to be a part of making sure that everyone feels comfortable walking into our space or calling us on the phone or whatever they need, right? And we ended up doing some podcasts. This was the first place that I think you and I were on a podcast together.
It's coming full circle. Your podcast that you interviewed, we didn't even plan on talking about the disability inclusion. You just came to do a facility visit, and then we started talking about it, and that was the first time I had ever spoken publicly about disability inclusion.
So full circle again.
So like full circle was like the spark, like that was like a moment where I was like, man, I have a voice, I have a platform. That's actually after that is when I reached out to Printing United and the Apparelists to be like, hey, I want to do more. I want to start talking about this. I want to challenge this industry, because whether it was women or people with disabilities, I mean, let's be frank, this industry is a bunch of old white dudes, right? And, you were setting out on that journey to change it from, bringing the females side of things, and I was inspired to do it for disabilities, right?
Well, then as we started talking, then it was, people of color. It literally just blossomed into this beautiful conversation where we had other customers kind of come out of the woodworks, from Rock, and they're like, "I felt that way too. Can I talk?" And so we ended up having this whole series of podcasts and getting everyone in. And, from there, it's like, okay, this isn't just about, female entrepreneurs. This is about a lot of voices that are just going unnoticed, unheard. It's
inclusion of everybody.
It's about inclusion, right? And so, we took that and founded the nonprofit Unite Together. Was basically born out of all those podcasts, and we started, fundraising. We came up with logos. We did all sorts of stuff. You did give us much material on disability inclusion, how you hire there, and we started talking, and then you're talking on stage, and then we actually started a disability inclusion program at Rock, and started bringing people in to train at our Florida facility there, to give them the skills that they needed to go out and find other jobs, which is fantastic, right? These things like seriously affect culture, and you're just doing the right thing for people. So we grew that. We ended up, we had two different high schools that approached us, one in Oregon and one in Texas, that both had art departments, both wanted to do printmaking, had no budget. They were very underserved, facilities. We reached out to, some of you here in the audience, and we asked for help. And we ended up putting print shops in two different high schools to help these kids learn how to print. Completely donated our time to go teach the teachers how to do this, right? How to print film, how to burn a screen, how to get this stuff on so these kids could learn. We raised money for Skills USA. We do screen printing competitions, with kind of the next generation coming up. We just did another $7,900 donation to them. Is really to help underserved kids travel to these events and be able to afford to be there and actually eat. I mean, this stuff is the kind of stuff that'll rip your heart out when you realize that, you know, we've got kids out there that are trying to learn our trade. They get invited to an event and can't afford to go eat with their friends. It sucks, right? So we really wanted to help, you know, serve that community and then give a space where we have resources to people, you know, that needed them.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about growing the next generation of printers, but growing it from a much wider community than it's ever been before. And sort of the influence we've had on inner city schools, some of the schools serving folks with disabilities, I think it's been pretty impressive. And I know when you started it, one of the challenges that you had was it got associated with rock. And because it got associated with rock, it kind of got poo-pooed by a bunch of people being like, oh, that's a rock thing, so we don't want to be associated with it. So Corny has been an incredible sponsor of this podcast. But and their Connections event has always been about bringing the community together. I sit on the board of that, right? Transparency on that. But when I started this podcast, when you told me that story was in my mind. And it was one of the reasons why I wanted to interview you. I wanted to interview Ryan, because while Corny is pushing this, Corny is very clear that Connections and everything that we're doing here is about bringing the whole print community together. 100%. So I wanted to show that, you know, this is bipartisan. This is friendly competition. I mean, the first time we got to speak at Printing United, we did the Print Industry Unites on Disability Inclusion, and I had you sitting right next to Jekka from Corny. And I wanted to show that when we talk about philanthropy and giving back, that's where this industry is at its strongest. And that's when we can come together for things that are the betterment of the community, the betterment of the industry, and sort of like lay down our weapons and competition for a second and just be like, hey, together our voice is stronger, and we can really impact change. And it wasn't easy.
It sucked. And I mean, what people don't, I said it earlier, I always needed a platform to make the change, right? The brand can be a platform. It's a platform to get the voice out. It doesn't mean that the brand is pushing it for their own brand purposes. And I think that that's what people need to remember. At the end of the day, we're trying to do good things for people that need help. It shouldn't matter who's sponsoring a podcast or, right, who's associated with who. We're just trying to do good things, right? And it is a platform. You've got to have that voice because it's easier to get out. I mean, in today's day and age, we all have our social and we all have, there's influencers, right? We want to cross hashtag the influencer to be able to get something out there. Think of it the same way, right? This is just a hashtag, right, to be able to have a bigger voice. So I think that's the one thing people need to understand and remember. This doesn't serve anyone except the people that we're trying to help, that we're trying to serve.
And what people also don't know is how much time, money, and effort you put in, sacrificing behind the scenes to keep this thing going. Because there was no fundraiser. And at the same time, another thing people don't know that you don't talk about is that you were literally getting hate emails from people being like, I'm never going to buy from you because you're inclusive.
Yep.
Like, when you showed me some of that, I was just like mind blown. Like, who thought that was going to be a side effect of you sacrificing time, effort, and money to try to better the community and the industry and, you know, underrepresented people? And I think that I was really proud to be friends with you. You know, knowing that you were going through all that, but still putting a smile on, not giving up, kind of pushing it through. I mean, it truly was thankless for a while. And then we picked up some momentum, right? You know, Absolutely. You built a board, things started happening. But recently, obviously, with this transition, it's kind of fizzled out because you were, as I said, you were the ringleader that was moving this. So that the train kind of...
I had a partner in crime, who I got a shout out to, Adrian Palmer.
Rock star.
Helped me
Who also
done this whole thing.
Who also edited my book without
Yeah,
asking for anything.
just did it.
Just did.
She's an amazing human, and she changed her career too. And so kind of there was a couple career shifts that happened, and yeah, it has since kind of fizzled out. And now I'm fortunate to be at Liquid. We've got 5 different organizations that we support there.
Tell us about.
I wish I had my phone. I left it over there because I'm so new, but I can kind of explain. The Tilly's has got an organization that helps kind of troubled youth get back on their feet. We're a big supporter of that. There's an organization that's an equestrian organization that works with kids with autism and helps kind of, helps them. We support that. We support Children's Hospital. We support one other organization that works with troubled youth. And so, again, all has to do with kind of this next generation, everything that we support there. And, I'm personally excited to learn more about it kind of as I'm a little bit further along in my time there. And potentially how do we bring, how can I bring that back into what we kind of started and we're working on and, continue to work on it, in our industry specifically as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously you're going to put your stamp on it. You put your stamp on everything you do, and I look forward to seeing sort of how you develop the programs that they're already working, and obviously the new ones that you start over there. And Josh is a good friend as well, and he's extremely lucky to have you. So it's been cool to see, and I'm glad you found your new adventure. Glad you got to move back to California. There's a little bit brighter sunshine than
it is. I needed to get out of the 260 days a year of rain. It was interesting coming back to California with the fresh start. It's like a whole new journey. So family's happy, everyone's healthy, and we're excited to be where we're at.
So I like to really close out each episode, since again a lot of this is really about putting the spotlight on all the great things that are happening in this industry. But kind of paying it forward. The spotlight that people have helped put on me on the stuff that I do. If you were going to shout out one person that you think is doing really great things in this industry, and maybe she get a shout out. I mean, you've already shouted out Adrienne Palmer, so maybe she's yours. But is there somebody else to want to shout out?
Well, I mean, this is going to sound silly, but it would be you. I'm sitting next to who I would shout out. You, not only do you literally live what you talk about, and I've been to your facility multiple times, you have just the most amazing people. You are able to speak on a topic so incredibly well. I mean, you're one of the best speakers that I've ever had the pleasure of knowing, but you're so passionate, you know it so well, and you've made so much change with so many companies out here. And I know a lot of people that have picked up the phone and called you after we've talked. I've had people send me videos of Jed speaking at other events just so I can see my buddy speaking and how much he was crushing it, right? So I give my shout out to you.
That means a lot, man. Means a lot. This fills my cup more than any amount of T-shirts that we could sell, to feel like you're changing lives and inspiring other people. I had a moment here. I got here, one of the first conversations I had, a gentleman named Darwin from Corny. Darwin's also my oldest son's name. So he came up to me and he goes, "You're my inspiration." And I was like, "Amazing." He's like, "I don't own a business." He's like, "But I saw you speak at Corny Connections last year, and it inspired me to feel like I have to get back in some way." He's like, so he started, one of his buddies had been trying to recruit him to do this monthly feed the homeless thing. So he decided to start doing it. And then once he got involved, he decided he wanted to do even more and started collecting shirts and sweatshirts from various customers that were donated so that he could also provide clothing. So when we sit here and we talk about the give back and we talk about sort of the platform that our businesses allow us to give back and have louder voices, to give back, you don't have to give back you don't need a business, right? It could be volunteering at a homeless shelter. You could have an old woman who lives next to you and is lonely, and you just go on walks with us.
Talk to us.
But this is about just putting good into this world, because we are in a world where we are bombarded, our news feeds and social media, we are bombarded with all of the shit. But the reality is there's so many beautiful people doing beautiful things every day. And my hope is, with this podcast, we could shed a light on more of those. We can inspire other people, and that we get people to talk more about the great things that they do. Because I think oftentimes people don't want to talk about the philanthropy that they do because they're worried it's like you're using it to benefit yourself. But the reality is just by talking about it is what starts the ripple effect that inspires other people to inspire other people. And that's the world I want to live in. And this industry, as we've said, I think twice in this, is so small and such a tightly knit community. And the Apparelists and Print United have done such an amazing job bringing people together. Corny with Connections, bringing people together. So, my hope is that we continue to use our unified power to bring good in this world in every capacity that we can.
Absolutely.
So thank you for joining us.
I'm going to throw one last thing out there.
Please.
Because we're talking about philanthropy. We're going to go back to the journey of the entrepreneur for a second. I just saw all of you out there that run a company, high up in a company, maybe just work there. If you're having problems and you're not feeling like your best self, go find someone that can help you. There's so much help out there. So many business coaches, so many organizations. There's us. We've all been through it, right? Talk to someone. It helps so much, just getting it out and understanding what your next step may or should be. Don't stay stuck. Staying stuck is a choice. And sometimes getting out is the hardest choice you'll ever make. Selling my business and getting out of it after 11 years when I thought that was going to be the rest of my life was the hardest decision I had to make. But it saved my marriage. It made me a better father. It made me a better person. I learned more. It made me a better entrepreneur by doing that. So ask for help. That's all I got.
It's beautiful. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Jed.
Thank you guys for joining us. Whether you're subscribing or you're in person, thank you. We will see you next month for episode 5. And thank you again to the Apparel.
Been through struggles, had to conquer them all. We rise and give back to answer the call. We measure success by the lives that we shape. Making an impact, we're raising the stakes.
This episode of Raising the Stakes was brought to you by Corny Connections, bringing the print industry together for a higher purpose.